So this recording will go from this moment on until we close the show. And anyone can go see it on our YouTube channel, so you'll be able to access that easily.
All right.
The recording that's for the live radio show will turn into a podcast within about 12 to 24 hours, depending on how quickly Matt gets to it.
Okay.
And once that happens, within a few days, I will send you an email that will have the embedded code, so you can put that on your website, wherever you'd like. And yeah, you can definitely share that, and we'll still promote you after the show. So we'll do one or two more promos. And when we do our promos, we blast it on all our social media, which is roughly 13 to 15,000 individuals. So quite a few people get to see it. And then on the radio show, we'll give you a banner.
Okay.
And we'll post that banner for about a month. And then, just if you could be a little patient with me, I've got two new graphic designers, and I'm hearing an echo, so hopefully Matt can help me with that. Okay. So we'll put that banner up. Usually I leave it a little bit longer than a month. I leave them up to be in all honesty, I leave them up until Voice America tells me I have too many, and then I start pulling them down. My goal is to really just help people. The radio show and the magazine are both a labor of love for me. I do them. Sorry, I have like a hair that's like in my face. That's there. As a teacher, my goal is to help as many people as possible. People learn different ways. So the radio shows for our auditory listeners, the magazines for our visual, and then the kinesthetic is the actual coaching that I do. So that's how I address all three learning styles. The radio show and magazine at this point in time are not really money makers for me. They're really, something I do as my gift to give back to my community, back to my listeners, back to my readers, so on and so forth. So I appreciate you coming on. It's going to be fabulous. I'm really looking forward to talking to you, because there are so many women out there that I think can relate to you.
Yes, I think I feel that too. And it really kind of came to bear after publishing my book, where I had such a groundswell of response of thank you for doing this. Thank you for just simply laying it out. There's no fluff. There's no sweet talk. It's just the real, it's my personality, but it's definitely just like right to the point, because that's kind of where you get to be when you get into your 60s. It's like, cut out all the BS and get right down to it.
Well, you don't look like you're in your 60s. You look absolutely amazing. If I was to see you on the street, I'd say probably late 30s, maybe 40s at the most.
Oh, you're so sweet. Thank you.
I'm being really, honest about it, because you look so much younger. And I think a lot of it is just, your personality, you're bubbly, you've got that high energy. And I think that is what makes you feel young, and that's what makes you look young. So absolutely wonderful.
Thank you. I appreciate that. It is part of my message too, is getting that idea out there that it's not just diet and exercise. Starting out right, I kind of I procrastinated on even starting to write, because I didn't want to do another one of those books.
Yes.
I wouldn't buy it. I'm like, okay, I've heard it all. I've heard it, and you kind of have to pick and choose what you're going to do. But what about all the other stuff that comes along with passing the big 5-0 and then moving on into the next stage of your life? And what else is there? There's so much more to women as we mellow and age well, about resilience and about knowing how to set boundaries, knowing how to be compassionate because you've taken care of yourself, how to form habits, that whole thing about old dog, new tricks kind of thing. It's not true. Anybody can make a new habit. So it's just all those other things.
No, I love that. And me as an executive function coach, I focus a lot on that. So I'd love to talk about that in the show. I'm just taking a little bit of notes here. Okay. So Matt's going to come on in a few minutes. He's going to do a sound check, hopefully fix whatever's wrong with my sound here. And he'll make sure your sound is okay. And then we're going to have 26 minutes. Talk as much as you want. I have your list of questions. I'll probably stick to most of your questions as they are, but I might have an additional question or two here and there. If there's
Sure.
something you're not comfortable with, you can always say that's for another show, or you know what I really want to talk about is this.
Okay.
Super easy. That way, you don't feel like I'm pushing you into something you're not comfortable with. I
Right.
do not want to make you uncomfortable in any way. So
Fine.
yeah, I'm not a big fan of surprises, so I don't want to surprise you with anything either, especially not on live radio. Matt will put a countdown, 4 minutes, 3 minutes, 2 minutes, 1 minute, and then 30 seconds. When he does that, around the 2-minute mark, I will start wrapping it up. I'm going to ask you to give your contact information. Sorry, something is not right with my microphone. We'll wrap up whatever you and I are talking about, give your contact information, and then I will do my little spiel, and then we'll go to break. We'll be on break for about 2 minutes. We come back, I'll reintroduce you, and then we'll talk about whatever we're going to talk about the second half, and then we'll do the same thing at the tail end of the show. So the questions that I have, I'd like to start off with mindset. I think those are like the most important in my opinion. Your mindset affects everything else. So, and I like that you put it first.
Yeah.
And then I'd like to go into goal setting, resilience. And then the second half, we can talk about exercise and nutrition.
Sure. That
Fair
sounds
enough.
perfect.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So, yeah. So where do you live?
I live in Scottsdale, Arizona.
Okay. I just moved from Arizona.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
It was funny because one of my friends reached out to me when she saw the post about our show here, and she said, I know her, and it's Margaret Simonis.
oh, I know Margaret. Yeah.
We worked together at in University of Advancing Technology in Tempe, Arizona.
Oh, how funny.
Yeah, and then she moved back east, and I think that's when she met you. And I guess you worked together for a while in a university setting. So
God,
yeah, she says,
Margaret and I met like back in, gosh, I want to say 1993.
Oh, okay.
No,
So that would be before I knew her.
Oh no, I've known her a very long time. I knew her before she had kids.
Oh yeah, right.
Yeah, it's been a while. Yeah. Yeah, she and I both worked for Western Governors University. And then, and then eventually I left, and I think she was still there when I left. So yeah, it's pretty wild that you know Margaret.
That's crazy. I mean, so funny.
Yeah, I really like Margaret. She's a very nice lady.
Yeah, I enjoyed working.
Very smart. What did you do at the university?
That was about 3 years I was there. I worked in the marketing department. I was a marketing manager in the area of going out into the field with a group of students and having a multimedia presentation that we would give to high school seniors to see, to advertise the school. But it's a school for geeks. It's kind of like a Hogwarts for 2D and 3D animation and robotics.
I love it.
As well. And so because it's a very niche private school, it's not for everybody, clearly. Just like Hogwarts wasn't for everybody. But so our job was to go out and present this multimedia presentation, and we would literally watch the students' faces while they were watching the video and listening to the message. And the kids would just be kind of like, and there'd be one kid that would be like, and we knew that was the kid that wanted to go to our school, because you know it when you see it. Somebody who's been dreaming all their life of being able to parlay their skills in animation and learn how to be able to make a Pixar film, or, that kind of thing. So that's
pretty wild.
Yeah, it was really fun.
Yeah, that is fun, actually. I love watching that. It's It's one of my favorite things. I had a student ask me one time, why do you care so much? I'm like, I love seeing people succeed.
Yeah.
You know, I have to share a planet with you. I'd rather be with people who are really happy and who are
Yes.
getting what they need and getting what they want than being with a bunch of people who are constantly fighting and bickering and pushing each other down. It's like, we can all succeed. We truly can. We can all succeed.
I live for that moment when you see the light turn on in someone's eyes, where they finally get what you're saying. And it's not 100% of the people, but there's always like one or two where you just like, oh man, they really get it. And
Yeah,
I was a teacher as well.
that's
And
awesome.
for like 13 years and in like middle school and junior high. So yeah,
That's
really,
wild.
really,
I love it.
yeah,
All right. I think Matt just joined us.
looks like it. Empowerment.
Yes. Hey, Matt.
He's turned his video on.
He doesn't use his video. I don't know why.
Oh.
He's a good looking guy. Hey, Matt, you need to use your video. You're a good looking guy.
No, we don't have any cameras hooked up in here. So
All right.
unfortunately.
Hey, I'm having a little problem with my mic. I've got an echo.
Okay.
Can you hear it?
All right. Yeah. So do me a favor, Janet, and mute your Zoom for a moment.
Okay.
All right, and then go ahead and talk, Fazia.
Hello? Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I'm hearing you fine. So I think that's where the feedback is coming from. So
Okay.
Janet, go ahead and unmute. Do you have headphones you could use by chance?
I'm sorry.
Do you have any headphones that you could plug in?
I do not.
Because that's where we're getting the feedback from.
haven't
So
used
what's happening is the sound is coming out of Janet's computer speakers and it's getting picked up by her microphone and it's causing the feedback noises.
Gotcha.
Huh.
So there's really nothing we could do to get rid of that other than headphones, or every time you're talking, Fazia, Janet would have to be on mute or not on Zoom. So that's our only three options.
Okay, so maybe Janet, when you're not speaking, just mute, and then that way we'll see what we can do. We'll make the best out of it.
Okay.
Right, but yeah, other than the feedback, you're both sounding okay, loud and clear, so we're good there.
Okay.
But yeah, so yeah, Janet, you just have to toggle the mute, and when you go to talk, then just unmute.
Okay.
Sure. Yeah, I've never had that happen before. That's weird.
Yeah, normally Zoom is like, in the internal software of the Zoom will try to correct that and keep that from happening, but sometimes it just doesn't work all the time.
Okay.
Do me a favor, actually, we could try something in the settings. Janet, go down next to the mute button. You'll see the little arrow. Click right on the arrow and then click at the bottom audio settings. Right, and if you scroll all the way down to let's see if it will do. No, it doesn't do like a echo. It's just for background noise. Okay, never mind. All right, yeah, we'll just have to do the mute and unmute.
We can work with it.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. It looks like I see what you're talking about on the audio settings, but
yeah, it just only has background noise. Some other, like I know a different system I saw had, for echo cancellation, but that was not Zoom. It must have been on StreamYard or something.
you know what? I do have ear pods. Would that be so it would be on Bluetooth. Would that make a difference?
Yeah, if you have that, we could try that really quickly.
Yeah. Let's try it. Okay. I was thinking in terms of headphones, which I don't have those.
Right.
Because they're so attractive, you should get a pair.
Okay, let's see here.
All right, I got them.
You got it. Okay.
Yeah, I got the chat.
Yes, I see the chat. Okay, can you hear me? Is this? Wait a minute.
We can hear you.
Yeah, let me see if I can hear the echo back. It's still there.
It's still connected. Hold on.
Okay.
We're still connecting. or why they're not connecting. Let's see here. Let me try again. Sometimes it works if you just kind of reset it. Okay, let me make sure my phone is turned off too. Okay. There.
All right. Oh, that's so much better. So much better.
Oh,
Yes, thank you. Okay.
Oh, good.
Oh,
I'm so glad.
still a little bit of an echo, but not as bad as it was.
Okay.
Okay.
It's an improvement.
Yes.
All right.
All right.
All right, so we'll go ahead and get started here.
All right, thanks, Matt.
Feed your way. Yep, have a great show.
Thank you.
Welcome to Focus on Success with Fozzie Acosti. Our program is designed to help you with executive function challenges. Our guest experts offer perspective, experience, and ideas to improve different aspects of your life. Now, here is your host, Fozzie Acosti.
Hi, welcome to the show. I'm Fozzie Acosti, and today we are speaking with Janet McConnell. She is a keynote speaker, published author, and personal fitness trainer in her late 60s. She has transformed her life from the inside out in middle age. It was such a profound experience for her that it inspired her to devote the past 12 years leading the change towards the radical idea of aging well. She speaks publicly, trains her fitness clients, and publishes her writings about her passion and has no intention of stopping, which I absolutely love. Welcome to the show, Janet.
Thank you very much, Fozzie. I'm happy to be here. I appreciate you.
Yeah, I'm so excited to talk to you because I think transitioning to any age is a challenge for most people, but especially for women, I think, because, you know, we have a lot of social things that go with that. And, you know, so I love that you're talking about this topic. I think it's a very important to talk about. How did you get started in this? I mean, what inspired you to start talking about age and aging well?
I started to get old. Nothing will spark an interest in aging well like aging.
So we should all be interested.
Right. It just doesn't come to bear until you start to get maybe on the high side of the 40s into your 50s, and then you start noticing changes in your appearance, or in your energy, or in how the world treats you, which is an interesting aspect as well.
That is interesting, isn't it?
Yeah, I started to notice, one of the things that I remember noticing first was that there would be an ad in a magazine for anti-aging cream. And I just thought, well, first of all, something that's a natural process is kind of bad. But then it would have a picture of this beautiful young 20-something model with perfect skin, because she hadn't lived enough life yet to have any wrinkles. And so they were advertising this thing that's supposed to help people that were my age, but she looked like she could be my daughter or granddaughter's age. And it was like, there's something wrong here. I remember having that thought long ago.
Oh, yeah. You know, it's funny. I don't like the idea of anti-aging. I like the idea of aging gracefully. And it sounds to me like you've embraced that really well.
Yes. Yeah, it's important to realize that aging is inevitable. It's that decay is optional. And that's what I'm interested in pursuing with people, is to change their mindset around aging.
Well, let's talk a little bit about mindset. What are some of the self-limiting beliefs that we talk about when we talk about aging?
Well, I think that we have a lot of pat phrases like, you're like a fine wine, you just get better with age, and you know, you're not getting older, you're getting better, or just things like that we tell ourselves. And that's all great. And it's kind of true. but there's also a feeling in society that getting older means that you're going to be sidelined, it's harder to find a career where you're going to be accepted, especially as a woman. And it becomes this thing that kind of all of a sudden you realize one day that your boss is younger than you. And it, and it's okay, but then it's like a kind of a thing where you start thinking about it, and then you realize that the people around you are aging along with you, and there's a separation in how people experience aging. And I think that it starts in your mindset, because
So
very
tell me a little
often,
bit about that. How do people experience aging differently?
yeah, it has partly to do with the message that culture gives us, our culture gives us about what it means to age, that you can subscribe to or not. It's the idea of you might hear people saying, oh, when I turn 80 or 85, just shoot me because I never ever want to be old. Well, how sad is that? Because with the way our life is going now, with medicine and our understanding about the physical world and about science research, we know we are going to, in this generation, live much longer than the previous generations. The number of centenarians that are going to be living over the next 20 to 25 years is growing astronomically. And so many of us are going to live to be very, very old, whether we like it or not.
Well, I laugh because, well, that was funny, but my neighbor, he is 82. I think he's 80 or 82. And when I sit in my office, I see him outdoors every single day. That man has more energy than most 20-year-olds I know. He is outside every single day. He is mowing his own lawn. He trims his own trees. He he helps take care of his grandkids. He's got a little dog he's always taking out on walks. And so it really is a mindset, because you can also look on the flip side. There's 80-year-old people who just literally sit in their living room in their rocking chairs and watch TV all day. And I've seen them as well. And I think you're on mute.
Yes, right. It seems like there is this idea about, as we get older, that life becomes more diminished, and people are afraid of getting old because they look around them and see people that are much older, and they aren't living the life of their dreams. They aren't getting to do what they want. And when it really boils down to is, sometimes people are more afraid of getting old than they are of actually dying. And
Yes, I would agree with that.
That's a sad thing. It's one of those things where it depends on how you think about it. So the mindset, what is it that you enjoy this day doing very much that you never want to give up? In other words, life wouldn't be worth living if you couldn't fill in the blank. And those are the things that you want to make sure you can keep doing as much as possible.
Right.
Especially around physical strength and energy. If you love travel, if you love hiking, if you love tennis, pickleball, I don't care what it is, something that's physical, then you want to be sure that you can keep doing it so that you can keep enjoying it. And maybe you'll have to adjust to your energy level, but you can still continue to enjoy all the things that you love doing all the way till the end of your days. And it really is, your lifespan and your health span should end at approximately the same time. That is ideal.
Interesting thought. Yeah. That would be nice, wouldn't it?
People think that it has to do with genetics, like, oh, that's great for you, Janet. You probably have good genetics, but my family I'm actually older now than my father was when he died. And I don't expect that I'm going to have much of a different experience than he did getting old. But genetics is only a very small piece of it, because we have this science now that tells us epigenetics. And epigenetics is how our cells respond to our environment and what we offer it. and then it changes the expression of your genes. You have your genes, and those are definitely part of your hardwiring, but your soft wiring is about what experiences you give your body and your mind to experience in life, and it changes the way your genes express, and so you can actually live much longer and enjoy it.
I love the part about, enjoying it. I think that's the part that people want to have, is if you're going to live longer, you want to enjoy it. You don't want to sit in your rocking chair, watching TV for the next decade, watching everyone else enjoy their life, because you don't have the energy to get out and participate.
Right. Yeah. You look at someone like, I try to think of somebody in the media that more people of your listeners are familiar with, someone like Betty White, who everybody loved. Well, she loved performing, and she loved people, and she loved being able to participate in an ensemble cast. And she was acting until very, very much in the last minute of her life. She loved it so much, and it came through in her passion, and she exuded that joy no matter what age. And I really, really loved her for that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I can see that. In fact, she's a great example, because you're right. She lived a great life. She did everything on her terms. She loved everything she did. George Burns comes to mind. A lot of people probably don't even know who he is, because it's been a long time. But I mean, he did things that people told him he shouldn't do, like his cigar. He smoked a cigar till the very end. I think he lived into his 90s. And, that's a man who had a great mindset. He just enjoyed himself. What else is there, right?
Right. Yeah. There was a man in the paper recently who is a centenarian. He wasn't famous, but somebody wrote an article about him. He worked out every day in the gym, and he ate a healthy diet, and he also had 2 martinis every night. I was like,
good for him. If that's what makes you happy, then go for it. If that's what makes your life worth living, like you said earlier, find what makes you happy and then do it.
Yeah, he definitely, he did all the other things that you should do to be healthy, early to bed, early to rise, and followed good health habits. But he also enjoyed a cocktail. And I just think that's so funny, because sometimes we get so, like, I don't know, focused on no bad habits and everything has to be perfect. And well, nobody lives life like that. And that's not always fun either.
Well, I think society likes to dictate to us what's healthy, what's not healthy, what we should be doing. We're not robots. We're all individuals. And I think I really think that we should find what makes us happy as individuals, and then do that. And so, so that you can find your joy in life, because no one else is living in your shoes.
Right. And I think that one of the things that I know in working with my clients, especially my female clients who were in their 50s and 60s, 70s and 80s, they find that there's so many messages out there in social media that say what you should be doing and how you should be looking, what you should look like, and what you shouldn't wear at your age. And
at my age, I shouldn't have long hair, but here I am.
Well, that's one of the things too about aging, is like, you have to really decide what it is. Do you want to live a life of your choosing, or do you want to live the life of what somebody in society is saying you should do? If you want to go sleeveless, go sleeveless. It's like, it's so,
yeah. Yeah. And I do like the idea of just living your life for you. Let's talk a little bit. I want to shift gears and talk a little bit about goal setting. What is goal setting, and how do we set a goal?
Well, this is a good topic for January, isn't it?
Yes.
Because time of year when a lot of people are setting their New Year's resolutions. And I have 2 ways of looking at this. One is, there are short-term goals and long-term goals, and they have benefits and drawbacks. And also, there is this idea of, what is it that you're trying to accomplish? So a lot of times at this time of year, people are thinking about, kind of purging the holiday toxicity of what they ate and how they were living during the frivolity of the holidays. And so they'll start out with this really stringent plan to just go on the wagon for a month, or do a juice cleanse to help the liver out, or to go keto to get rid of the extra, maybe, 5 to 10 pounds they gain from eating all those. And it's a short-term thing. It's not meant to be sustained. And so as long as you understand that it's not meant to be sustained, it's just a short-term thing. I think of it more of a pattern interrupt. So if you're trying to stop the sugar craving or the drinking so much alcohol and give your body a chance to recover, okay, that's fine. But don't think of it as, this is my New Year's resolution that I'm going to do this forever. Because during this time of a short-term pattern interrupt is the time when you should be reflecting on, what am I going to do when this is over? What is the next step? Because a goal without a strategy or an action has no backbone. You have a goal, you're going to do this and this and this next year, and then you dust up your hands and you're proud of yourself. What a great goal. And then nothing happens. So in order to make a goal really matter, it has to have actions that back it up. And it needs to be short-term, for like, just this week, I'm going to start to do this, and then I'm going to add this to my routine. A really good book on this is James Clear's Atomic Habits. It talks a lot about this. It's a very, very easy to follow plan for how do you start. And I recommend this to my clients to read. And that way you don't say, well, I'm going to lose 50 pounds this year. Okay.
That's a lovely goal. But how are you going to do that? Right.
Yeah. I mean, it's nothing wrong with that. But then what are you going to do this week? Just a little piece of that. I'm going to start drinking more water. Okay. Right. No more. Just do that and get that going, because as you get that little habit going, then that becomes part of the background of your life, just like brushing your teeth or anything else. You don't even think about it. You have your thing of water and you finish it by a certain each day. Then add in, okay, I'm going to start to add more fresh vegetables. So now the water's going. Now I'm going to add, so then, or whatever it is.
One habit at a time.
Right. One habit at a time. Don't try to do everything at once. And have a clear reason as to why. So for example, one thing I like to pick on is I need to help my liver out by going on a juice cleanse. And sure, it's great to back off on alcohol consumption for a couple of weeks and let your body kind of re-regulate. And for those of you out there that are listening who are 12 steppers, I mean, you're thinking, okay, I already did that 10 years ago. I'm sober. But there's other habits that sometimes replace alcohol, like cigarettes or too much caffeine or overconsumption of refined sugar or some other things that it also applies to this.
Or soda.
Right.
They replace one habit with another bad habit.
So the comments are kind of generic for that. And that is that your liver, your liver is a very intelligent organ. It takes care of 500 plus functions in your body. It is the CEO of everything that's going on. And if your liver needs your intervention by drinking a green juice, then you should be in the hospital, because that means you have a life-threatening illness. Your liver can handle it. And so you don't have to just like come in like Roto-Rooter and take care of your poor sick liver. What you need to do is get back in the groove of what you know are healthy habits, start taking care of yourself, getting enough rest, drinking enough water, getting your exercise, eating right, and your liver will just deal with it just fine without you coming to the rescue like 911.
Wow. And I think that's really good advice. So what happens if somebody wants to get results right now? And they're spinning their wheels? How do they overcome that? How do they get on track?
Well, one of the things that helps with that, because people are pretty good at deciding what they want for goals and what are the habits that will lead to that. But the other part of it, back to the mindset, is trying to think about it this way. What kind of person loses 30 pounds in a year? What kind of person what would a person who does that do? like kind of almost disassociate yourself from and look at a person at afar and go, that person is going to lose what would they have to do? Okay, well, they would probably have to start by deciding this. So instead of thinking about, the day that I lose that 30 pounds, I'm going to be so happy. I'm going to be happy then. I'm going to be happy when. I'm going to be happy when I have this, when I have that. It's kind of like the thing of I'll be happy when I win the lottery.
Well, yes.
So instead,
well, I really would be happy that day, but you want to be happy along the way as well.
what would make you happy right now is knowing that that is going to happen because you're putting little things in place.
Right.
But are the things that you need to do to be that person that you want to be, because habits are those little habits that you put into place for those goals. Each little habit, each little action is a vote for who you want to be. You're voting every day. Who do I want to be next? Who do I want to be now? It's a little vote, and those votes count up after a while. And I think of it as that you're voting for yourself. What is it that you want? So who do you want to be? And thinking of it that way might be just what it takes to sort of interrupt that cycle of setting a goal and then not reaching it, and setting a goal and not reaching it, and then feeling demotivated. Why even bother?
So if somebody wanted to lose 30 pounds, like your example earlier, they could think about, okay, if I was that person, if I'm looking at somebody else who wants to lose 30 pounds, what would they look like? I could say, okay, they drink a lot of water. So I'm going to incorporate that in my day. And you start with maybe that one simple goal. And then the next time you say, okay, that person eats a lot of salads. I'm going to start eating more salads. So eventually those little decisions, or as you call them, votes, add up. And before you know it, you have a completely different lifestyle and you've dropped 30 pounds. And you weren't focused on I need to lose 30 pounds.
Right. Yes. And it's all the other things too. Like when somebody has, like when you think about in business, when you really want to get that promotion and you know that you need to up your skills or you need to bolster your resume, you work with a coach, you work with somebody who, like a business coach, who can look at what you're doing and say, all right, here's the first thing you need to do. Let's work on that. And so you have like a cheerleader and a mentor to kind of help you through it. Well, the same thing with this. If food is the difficult thing, then work with a nutrition coach. Have somebody that works with you that is really knowledgeable, that you have good chemistry with. That's another thing that a person who would lose 30 pounds might do. Or, study up, read a book about different kinds of exercise, or hire a trainer. I'm not stumping for my own self here because I only do in-person training. So if you don't live in Scottsdale, but there's great trainers everywhere.
Right.
So,
right. No, it's a great idea. And I truly, being a coach, I go to other people for advice all the time, and I refer out to other people all the time. So I think it's important to find the right person that's going to help you in the right way. Not everyone's going to be that right fit. So I like that. Thank you. Let's talk a little bit about resilience. What does that mean? How does somebody become resilient?
Well, if you were alive today and you're listening to this podcast, you already have resilience, because you can't get through life without it. I think the thing that happens is we often don't recognize our own resilience. And the older you get, the more you have. And so there's this cool thing that I think I came across it in reading a book. I can't remember where, but it was this idea of comparison, and comparison with yourself. So I realized that when I went through my transformation from being 33% body fat to 10% body fat as a bodybuilding competitor, I had a picture of myself then and a picture of myself when I reached that goal. And then I thought about all of the roadblocks that should have stopped me. This happened. I had this setback. Somebody in my family died. I had, I got sick, all these different things that happened where they were all these obstacles, one after another over that 3 or 4 years that could have stopped me in my tracks. And I chose not to stop. And I felt like it was important for me to look back and see, wow, those are all the things that I overcame along the way. And it didn't stop me. I'm resilient. So then I took the next 5 years and took a picture and put them next to each other and did it again. It's a really great visual, excuse me. It's a really great visual for being able to see how much resilience you actually have.
I love that. When you were talking about that, I was thinking about, I recently drove across country from Arizona to Florida, then from Florida to Virginia. And along the way, we ran into quite a few, issues. And there's a couple times I want to turn around and go back, but we didn't. We just kept going. So you can see resilience in different ways. So it's a goal of maybe getting a new job, or a goal of maybe losing weight, or a goal of traveling, or whatever it is. You can definitely see that resilience in everything that you do. So I love your example. Okay. So what are some of the things that do get in the way when someone is maybe fighting that feeling? Maybe they don't feel resilient.
Yeah, that's a good question. I think just for 1 second, going back to what you said about your trip, it's sometimes those obstacles and those roadblocks that make the best stories later.
Yes.
Those are the stories you tell other people. You wouldn't believe what happened. And that's what you treasure, because it's not only a fun, interesting story that people can relate to, but also it preserves your sense of, I did that.
Absolutely.
Some of the obstacles in the way are I spoke from my own experience in my book about this, because it's stuff that I passed on because I wish somebody had told me about this. Anytime you change a habit and it starts to become apparent to the people around you that you are transforming, you are changing, you are sitting up straighter, you are making different choices when you're at a party, you are doing all these little behaviors, your friends are like, hey, what's going on with you? Well, at first, everybody will be, you go girl. They'll be very excited that they're kind of, bolstering you up.
Right.
Until you start to have some tangible results. And as you start to have tangible results, there's this switch that happens, because the people around you will see you differently, and then they have to look at themselves differently. You're holding up a mirror to them to say, here's what I'm doing. But they're projecting on you. They're looking at you, but they're seeing themselves and like, well, I'm not going to get up at 6 a.m, go to the gym. I'm going to start to poke holes in that. Now they don't think that logically about it. Like I'm going to say something mean. It's more like they're feeling a little insecure about it. So they're going to say things
Right.
like, wow, it's too bad that, you can't enjoy yourself at the party with a glass of wine. Or, oh, I had one person actually say, you're eating so much seafood. Aren't you afraid of getting mercury poisoning? Like,
Wow.
no, I'm not afraid. But it was so shocking to me, because, and these aren't mean people by any means.
Right.
Nobody was, but they would just say these little things. So you have to be ready for people around you sometimes to throw out obstacles.
Thank you for sharing that. We have about a minute before we go to break. What is the name of your book if somebody wanted to purchase it?
It's called The Elements of Aging Well, My Journey So Far.
And how can they get a copy?
It's on Amazon. And so if the person were to go onto Amazon and just type in my name, it would come up. It looks like this. It just has my picture on it.
Right. Thank you so much. Yeah. So there you go. And if you're looking to get in touch with me, you can go to my website, executivefunctioncoachaz.com. You can subscribe to our magazine, and you can also call me if you're interested in being on the radio show, or if you'd like to write an article for our magazine. Without you, this would not be possible. So thank you. We'll be back after these messages.
All right, great. We're all clear. Back in a couple minutes.
All right. Thanks, Matt. All right.
Did that help?
Yeah. So, sorry, I was reading my notes. So how was that for you? Was that okay?
It felt
Good.
like very easy. I mean, I don't know that I stuck to answering your questions,
That's
because
okay.
sometimes when you say something, it'll trigger an idea, and I'll
Well,
think, oh, I gotta say,
that's how conversations go. And one of the reasons I like to do this on Zoom is because it is a conversation, kind of takes the pressure off the idea of being on a live radio show that's international. It's like you're not thinking about the people in, Europe and New Zealand or wherever listening to you. So
right,
yeah.
right.
So when we come back, we'll talk about exercise and nutrition. I'd like you to talk a little bit more about your book and
Mhm.
promote your book, and maybe
And then about public speaking.
public speaking. Okay.
I go to like women's conferences and stuff and speak. And so
Okay.
um, it's a great way to meet people and to, that's a kind of and to be able to spread the message, I guess.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic. So when we get closer to the tail end of the second half, let's talk a little bit about your book and your public speaking and
Okay,
promote that a little bit for you.
that'd be great.
Yeah, I'm excited. This will be fun. So we come back, we'll shift gears a little bit and talk about exercise and then nutrition, and then we'll talk about your book.
Yeah, that would be good.
And then the public speaking. Okay.
Yeah, you covered the ground. You really did.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was good. It was like, I felt like you kind of hit all the main points.
Yeah, I'm when I first started doing this, I'm like, oh wow, I've got to juggle the time, I've got to listen, and I've got to formulate new questions all at the same time.
Yeah,
Now I can do it, but when I first started, I'm like, oh my God, my head is spinning.
it makes you really appreciate when you listen or watch a podcast of somebody else on their relative skill at doing it, where they listen, or they let the person finish, or they sound too canned, or they sound like too casual. I was on a podcast recently where the lady started out, she said, did you realize that this is a martini podcast? And she had her drink with her. She goes, I was not prepared for that.
You didn't bring your martini?
No, nobody told me. I mean, it
That's
wasn't
funny.
It was just in her little Facebook group. So it was fine.
That's cute.
Sorry to
My
jump in, but we
goodness.
are just about to come back.
All right, thanks, Matt. That's cute. Yeah, no, there's a lot of creative things out there.
You are listening to Focus on Success. To reach Fazia Costi or her guest on the live show, please call 1-888-346-9141. That's 1-888-346-9141. You may also send an email to Fazia at executivefunctioncoachaz.com. Now, back to Focus on Success.
Hi, welcome back. I'm Fazia Costi, and today we are talking to Janet McConnell. She is a keynote speaker, a published author, and a personal fitness trainer in her late 60s. So welcome back, Janet.
Thank you very much. It's great to be here.
Yeah, I loved our conversation the first half of the show. I'd love to shift gears a little bit for the second half of the show. I'd like to talk a little bit about exercise and nutrition, and then maybe talk a little bit about your book and your public speaking towards the end of our show. So let's talk a little bit about exercise, the dreaded exercise, the thing that, everyone says they have to do, but nobody enjoys doing. Well, I wouldn't say nobody. I think you can find ways to enjoy exercise. What is that all about? So how do you find joy in your exercise?
That's interesting that you use that word turn of phrase, because that is the key, Fazia. That's the key, is what is the exercise that you enjoy? And that kind of is the cornerstone of my message on picking the right thing. I happen to fall into bodybuilding and resistance training out of a sense of needing to exercise, and hired a trainer, not even knowing what she trained on, and fell in love with it. But it doesn't always happen that way. And there's plenty of people out there who do not like setting foot in a gym, but they like to do a lot of other things, outdoors, some kind of outdoor thing, or some kind of pursuit like that. So it's
I'm in that category. I used to have a home gym because I don't like going to a gym. I just don't enjoy that. And I think a lot of people fall in that category.
You can be very physically fit and never go to a gym, but it has to be something else. But you want to think about things. I mean, I talk about longevity and about going for the long haul here. You know, what is it that you enjoy doing that you wouldn't mind doing for the next 40 or 50 years
Mhm.
because you love it so much? And I have people all over the place that I train. My gym is a medium-sized, smaller private gym. So it's a little more, it's less intimidating. Let me put it
Mhm.
that way. So it's comfortable, but I train plenty of people just short term who want to compete, are runners. I trained a lady last year who
Mhm.
wanted, for her 60th birthday, she wanted to climb Mount Kilimanjaro. So
Wow.
we trained how to climb for Mount Kilimanjaro. I've trained an 82-year-old who loves scuba diving and wanted to travel to all 7 continents, and she's 82. Now, when she's in the water, she's certified for scuba diving. She was fine swimming, because of the buoyancy. But when she was up on deck, she couldn't drag the oxygen tanks around, and she felt like everybody was having to wait on her, and it bothered her. So she trained to get stronger in her upper body so she could work her own equipment, and eventually made it to Australia, the Great Barrier Reef, went to Antarctica, trekking around, got to do it all. But it's training for what you want to do. But she got the basic thing of, what do I love doing? It's not lifting weights, certainly. It's a means to an end. So
Yeah.
to talk about exercise, the first thing people usually either want to know how to eat, how, what should my diet look like? And then I don't know what to do for exercise.
And
And
the two
so,
definitely go hand in hand. Now, personally, I worked with a really great trainer many years ago, but she was so strict on the diet. It was the biggest turnoff for me. So I walked away because I didn't want to do her diet. But the exercise wasn't so bad. So give me some more examples of what you've had to work with.
okay, well, it's funny because instead of setting out a diet for people to follow, because that's kind of a cookie cutter approach, it's kind of like going on Instagram and going, oh, well, that fitness model looks great, I'm going to eat what she's eating. And you're not the same person. You're different. You have a different lifestyle. You have different age, different genetics, different chemistry, everything. So it has nothing to do with you. The Instagram model is telling you what works for her. Doesn't
Mhm.
work necessarily. So I made a big example in my book of this that I think people can relate to. If you picture in your mind, everybody knows what a sumo wrestler looks like. In Japan, they have those big, huge, strong, they're monsters. They're just really big.
Yeah.
And they're at the top of their game. They are professional and they are champion athletes, but they have a certain sport, right? Then think about a Kentucky Derby jockey. Very slight build, very lean, really has to be very on point, keeping their weight controlled because that controls the outcome of the race. So it's a sport
Right.
that involves a certain kind of physique. Both of those sports involve physique because the bulk of a sumo wrestler is a good way of telling whether or not he could win, but in addition to strength. Never in 100 years would those two competitors trade dinner plates. Never.
Right.
They eat
Or jobs for that matter.
right. They eat to feed their sport. A sumo wrestler eats to feed his sport. A jockey eats to feed his sport. Same thing with a gymnast or a javelin thrower or a high jumper, or what we might say that Dr. Peter Attia, who is a podcaster, who is a longevity specialist in the medical field, talks about the centenarian Olympics. If you want to live to be 100 years old, think of it as a sport. And what do you have to train for to be ready to compete in the 100-year Olympics? Do you want to be able to carry a bag of groceries up the stairs? Do you want to be able to pick up a running grandchild that's coming at you at full tilt? Do you want to be able to get up and down out of a chair without falling? Do you want to be able to walk on cobblestones because you love traveling? What is it that you love to do? Are you training for that? And I thought that was a very good application to that idea of you
I
eat
love
and you
it.
for what it is that you love. I mean, you don't want to just kill yourself on the treadmill because you should exercise when you hate doing it. And what does it serve? Are you getting to do what you love to do? So it's kind of a logic around what makes sense for what you love to do, and you'll keep doing it, and then you'll be motivated to eat in a way that feeds the thing, that gives you the stamina and the strength and the energy to do the thing and be competitive in what you love.
Which takes you right back to your mindset. You have to have that mindset before you can do anything. So if you've got that mindset the way you need it to be, you can set those goals, you can be resilient, and then focus on the actual quote unquote exercise that you need to do to meet your goals.
Right. I mean, people have asked me, because I think when I started out as a trainer, it was after I had become a competitive bodybuilder, and I went through this transformation that was really remarkable. And so I came in like gangbusters because now I have the secret and I know what everybody needs to do. Well, couldn't have been more wrong. I was kind of like that born again evangelical trainer, if I could use that metaphor. And I had to learn that actually what I had was an example of what I love doing, what I was willing to sacrifice for to get on that stage and be competitive and maybe win a trophy. And not everybody would care to do any of that. But there are things I knew that could translate down into what somebody does care about and make it make sense for them. So I've mellowed about the stringent rules over time.
Yeah, no, I love that. I love that description you gave earlier about, you're basically setting yourself up for success in the areas that you want to be successful. And that is what's important. And that goal is different for every single person. So I love that. Let's talk a little bit about, as a trainer, what do you need to do to help somebody, hold themselves accountable? Do you sit down with them and create goals and then, customize it? Or do you have like one plan that you kind of share with everybody?
It's really important in the beginning to get a feel for what the person wants to accomplish. Sometimes they'll sign up for training because they have a short-term goal, and that's okay. It's not ideal because once you reach the goal, then what? So it's like, I'm thinking about long-term, I'm thinking about consistency over time, but sometimes it's the gateway drug into becoming a person who thinks that way. So if they're able to lose some weight and look a little more toned because their daughter is getting married and they want to look nice in their mother of the bride dress, or like the lady who climbed Mount Kilimanjaro, or like for somebody who I trained a young man one time who was a medium distance runner, and he was just stuck. He could never break through. And so, in other words, I would train him differently, making his hamstrings stronger so that now he can burst forward and start winning some races because his hamstrings were not strong. So it's as specific as that. But then once that happens, sometimes I would say maybe 3/4 of the time, the person who goes through that short-term goal falls in love with the process and realizes that they can continue to grow and continue to be strong and avoid injury by doing resistance training as a lifestyle to support whatever sport it is that they also like to play. So people don't get injured with me. They get injured downhill skiing or falling off their bicycle somewhere, and then they come back to me to rehabilitate.
Well, I think, you have this very wonderful, non-judgmental way of looking at exercise and people. And I can see how somebody would work with you and fall in love with whatever the process is for them and maybe continue, because I've worked with several different trainers in my lifetime. And I'll be honest, I haven't always enjoyed it because they come at it in a very concrete way and they don't really listen. And I like that you listen to your clients. It's a very important thing, and actually in any field. So that's wonderful that you do that. What would someone look for if they're looking for a trainer? What are the things that you recommend that they look for?
Yes, I'd love to talk about that because you have listeners from all over the country, all over the place, all over the world. And it's important to make sure that what you just said about not enjoying, I had an experience or two like that. Oftentimes it was a very young person who was kind of new at the skills of doing that. And I had already kind of learned some things, and I felt like they were kind of like pushing me into their mold. So you definitely want to find somebody who, I would recommend somebody who's close to your age. Like there's a woman who trains in our gym who is in her early 30s and has two small children. And she learned how to regulate her fitness and her weight after childbirth, how important it is to work on the pelvic floor, to work on the core, how to eat sensibly so that you don't make yourself crazy trying to lose those few extra pounds you gained through pregnancy. So guess what her clientele is? Lots of women who are pregnant or have just had children. See, so these are people that found their person because
Right.
she gets it. She gets it. So for me, my thing is what it's like to be 50s, 60s, coming up to 70 pretty soon, and how to stay fit without getting hurt, being reasonable in my skills, working with people who have knee replacements and hip replacements, being able to be stronger over time and being patient with the process. So to answer your question, if somebody is looking for a trainer and maybe they belong to a big box gym with that's very large and there's trainers milling around, I would say this is like my favorite piece of advice is get on a treadmill where you can see the floor and you can watch the trainers working with their clients. So don't go too fast. You want to go just nice walking speed so you're not paying attention to gasping for breath. Look out at the gym and watch how they work. Do they look at their phone and scroll social media while their client is doing walking lunges incorrectly and not taking care of them? Do they put everything away and make eye contact and pay attention? Do they have a clipboard? Are they taking notes of things? Are they, you can see that there is an engagement there where they actually enjoy what they're doing. They're not bored. They are absolutely engaged physically and emotionally with that person. Do they look excited to be there? That's a good start. Finding somebody where you watch them like, look at them go. I've actually gotten clients because they've been watching me and they've been looking for a trainer and they said, no, you never once took out your phone. You were paying attention and you guys were laughing. What's going on over there? I wanted to know what you were laughing about.
I love it. Yeah, no, that's absolutely wonderful advice. What if somebody doesn't like working at the gym? What do they do? What do you recommend there?
I recommend probably figuring out if you're a hiker or if you like cycling or if you like yoga, Pilates.
Yeah.
So you may engage in a class with a teacher, which is great because you want to get some instruction to make sure you're doing things correctly.
Right.
There's a lot of people that are fans of the Peloton model where you have somebody motivating you, but you have your own equipment so you can just do it when and where you want.
Right.
And also, I would say that if you're engaged in like martial arts or some kind of a class, you'll get the instruction that way. But it's good to have a friend who enjoys hiking with you or going with you, swimming, if you like to if you're become a swimmer. So it just depends on if it's an outdoor sport and you need motivation, get a buddy or join a small meetup group that likes to do those things as well. And then you develop a community around it.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing that. I really find everything that you've been talking about today very inspiring. So I hope that there's a lot of people out there inspired. Let's talk a little bit about nutrition. Everyone gives different advice about diets or eating or, and there's a lot of conflicting information out there. What can someone do to kind of sort through all of that and figure out what's right for them?
Well, barring any nutritional allergies that are out there, this is just talking in general. I recommend usually just the more you can, it's kind of an 80-20 rule. So the more you can eat out of whole foods, things that are real, that you cook yourself or that are prepared in a way that you would cook them, because they're very pure, not a lot of additives and stuff, as much as possible. Stay away from fast food or refined foods. But beyond that, there is a lot of stuff out there available on social media and also in books and podcasts about different types, different diet frameworks. So there's things like keto or paleo or Mediterranean diet, or intermittent fasting is a hot topic right now. And so you may be hearing an influencer, you think, wow, I'm kind of convinced that this is something I should try, but I'm not sure. What I recommend people do is start at the beginning. If you decide, let's say you decide you want to do some intermittent fasting. So read up on it, get a plan so you kind of know which way you want to pick. But then you want to, before you start, get some body measurements, weigh yourself, get some stats on yourself, and then do it for a month, like religiously. Don't shirk it off. Do it for a month, 30 days, and then reassess. How do I feel? Am I stronger? Am I healthier? Am I sleeping better? Or am I always have a gnawing hunger? Do I not feel satisfied? Have I lost muscle? That's a big one, because sometimes some of the diets are really, the calorie deficit is a little too much. And so you have to be careful of that. So so you can experiment for a little while, but do it long enough so that you can measure and go all in and see, and then decide, okay, well, that was kind of interesting, but I'm not really happy with that. And then try something else. So there's that. There's also working with a nutritional coach. That's a good plan, because usually if they have a medical foundation, so that they can properly prescribe. Because I find that most of the ladies that I work with that are trying to lose weight work with a nutritional person, and they find out they're under eating. Because what happens is, when you undereat, when you eat less than, you'll be eating 800 or 900 calories a day. Well, what that does is that makes your body metabolism slow down, because your body says, uh-oh, we're going through a famine right now. So my little evolutionary cave woman is going to save my life here. And I'm going to keep every ounce of fat just in case we need it, because you're not eating enough right now. So I'm going to hold on to it for you. I'm going to do you a favor. Well, it's not what you want.
How special.
Yeah, it's going to take time. So if you eat more and build more muscle, then you raise your metabolism, your basal metabolism, and you burn more calories. Just sitting on the couch, you're burning more calories. So
Wow.
things like that, but I guess overall, it's making sure that you're getting enough of all the different food groups and eating as clean as possible, shopping the perimeter of the store, not too much in the middle of the store, except for maybe your oatmeal and, things like that. So.
Well, I want to thank you for all of this wonderful information. We have a couple minutes left. I want to talk about your book and your public speaking next, just so that everyone is aware of what else you can do. Let's talk a little bit about your book. Tell us the name of your book again, please.
The name of my book is Elements of Aging Well, My Journey So Far. And I made that title that way on purpose, because it's an ongoing project, just like for everyone. It's not a one kind of thing. Aging is a process, and I'm picking my way as I go, and I'm leaving information out there of what I figured out so far to help people if they find it helpful.
Where can someone get a copy if they wanted to get a copy?
It's on Amazon, and you can just Google. You can search on Amazon, Janet McConnell, and it'll come up. And it looks like this. It has my picture on it. So
okay.
There's a couple of other books that talk about aging well, so you won't get confused with which one.
Yeah, and if you want to see a copy of the book, you can go onto our YouTube channel and you can see the video. There's a picture there as well.
Yeah. And I kind of like I said earlier, I added in a lot of other things. It's not just about diet and exercise. It's about mindset and about how to set habits. I give examples. I tell my life story, not my life story, but my transformation story.
Perfect.
And kind of gives a context to what
Wonderful.
I'm talking about.
And then you also do public speaking. So if somebody was interested in having you come speak at their event, how could they get in touch with you for that?
I would say probably by email is the best. I think that will be included in your show notes, I assume.
Yeah,
but
we can add that in there. Absolutely. So if you're looking to get in touch with Janet, we'll put her email in our banner when we create the banner for the show. We'll put that on our webpage. If you're looking to get in touch with me, you can go to executivefunctioncoachaz.com. We are still offering our special for our mind print assessment. So if your child is interested in knowing a prediction on how they can do on their ACT or SAT, the mind print assessment can definitely do that. And if you're looking to be a guest on our show, or if you'd like to write an article for our magazine, you can go to our website, executivefunctioncoachaz.com. You can go on the homepage and you can send us an email through the contact tab. I want to give a quick shout out to all our listeners in China, in the Netherlands, New Zealand, wherever you might be. Without you, this would not be possible. So thank you very much for listening. And once again, I want to thank Janet McConnell for being on the show today. It's been an absolute pleasure. And we'll see you next time.
Thank you, Fazia.
All right, perfect. Nicely done. We're all clear.
All right. Thanks, Matt. Let me just
welcome.
stop the recording.